All right, this is the teaser for the Randcast, which will be spilled into the Randcast in its entirety on Patreon. That's why we do this, is to build a brand, but also to create revenue. We need revenue to stay open. Patreon. Subscribe to Patreon, where you can get this podcast in its entirety, stories that you won't hear anywhere else from two really well-traveled guys in the industry today, myself and one Casey James. And before we get to this, please like and subscribe. Kurt, Casey James, did you interact much with Shane McMahon?
Shane wasn't really working there at the time.
Okay.
He would come in once in a while for a pay-per-view. I mean, he would be around sporadically, but very sporadic.
Didn't he quit for a while and
Yeah.
do something with Dana White?
Yeah.
What was he doing, do you know?
Not sure. Probably promoting. I mean, that's what he's good at, promoting.
Okay. So you didn't have any interaction with him? A little interaction?
Just hello, goodbye, handshake.
Sure.
Because, like I said, he wasn't around. Like I said, I might have seen him a handful of times.
Okay. So it must have been 88, 89 when I first saw him, and he was a kid. I believe he's younger than me, a little anyway.
Shane McMahon.
88, 89, I would see him around. But the way I am, and it's funny because I didn't read this stuff till later. This is just how I am from the way that I actually wasn't raised, from being on the streets at 15. I do, they say you can tell a person's character by how they treat the busboy or the janitor. That's me. I've always done that. It's just normal to me. Go up, shake my hand, make eye contact, introduce myself. I treat everybody the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially up there because, just from street smarts, I know that you don't start sucking ass and put on your best Eddie Haskell because Vince has seen it all. You know what I mean? He knows it all, that brown nose and ass kissing garbage,
Yeah.
Show him, so I'd get his attention. So I'd see Shane around. I didn't really know who he was. Thinking back, I think he was running around with Russo from time to time at tapings, But nice enough guy, I don't remember anything sticking out.
Well, that would have been later on, not in the late 80s. Vince Russo wasn't around in the late 80s.
Okay, maybe in the 90s, that's what I recall.
Sure.
Russo looked like a rat boy.
Right.
But, thinking back now that I think about it, you could say hello to him and he was a cunt. But fuck Russo. So, back to what I was saying is, so the big thing is now that Shane McMahon fired by, Vince. And the funny part to me is the guys that are trying to keep their names alive out there are the worst mistakes to ever happen to the industry. One is Eric, this number two would be Eric Bischoff. Number one would be Vince Russo, And Vince, in all of his wisdom, Vince Russo, bro, is putting out there that Shane should start his own company,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Shane starting his own company?
That's not going to happen. I don't think. Why would he do? I mean, he's probably smart enough to know that going into business for yourself, besides being Vince, is not probably going to work.
That's the funny thing to me, though. Is you see all these internet fans in the internet wrestling community, and I bet, especially the people on Reddit, the sneakies, the sneakiest of the sneaks.
I'm sure there's more to the story. I'm sure he wasn't even fired. I'm sure it was just a thing where him and Vince sat down, and was listen, let's agree to disagree and go our own. I don't even know, these internet or these dirt sheet writers, they think they know what's going on, but they don't.
Yeah. But the funny part about it is what they're doing is they hate Russo, but then they love Russo because Russo gave them this dash of hope that says, Shane's going to start something. Now, Vince Russo is such a mark that he thinks that if he puts something out there and Shane does anything, remember, bro, I'm the first one to put it out there. He's trying to get
That's how all journalism is now. It used to be if you broke a bad story, your credibility was destroyed. Now it's like throw anything against the wall. If it sticks, good, and if it doesn't, there are no repercussions. Your credibility and your, as far as journalism, is no longer at stake by breaking bad stories. So I think there's a parallel with that, and even the mainstream media. Yeah. That's kind of par for the course, which is bullshit.
Yeah, it's i.e. fake news. So I've always looked at this industry as a business, even if I was doing extra work or jobbing for WWF, WWE, because I'm not a partier and I was focused. You know, I've been sober the whole time I've been in the industry and living by some principles. So when that happens, you tend to pay more attention to the key things, you know, and you retain it. You know, I can retain it. So I watch and treat everything just like a business, you know. I remember when Vince was kind of lost a bit of focus because he'll try to multitask from time to time. And when he was trying to start the professional bodybuilding, he wanted to monetize bodybuilding, which was a good idea, you know. But it just, the way it was done, you couldn't do both. You would have, if Vince were to make that work, when was it, the 90s, 80s?
Early 90s.
He would have to focus on that, live, eat, and breathe it just like he does wrestling. You know, and you can't live, eat, and breathe that because you can't live two lives unless Vince was a conjoined twin and they both twins had the same gray matter, it couldn't have been done. But it was a good concept. While Vince is looking the other way, certain things come into play and, you know, what are you doing? What are you looking at? You made me nervous.
Nothing. Teaser.
Yeah, we're almost done with this. So again, this is going to spill into the Patreon. So, you know, this teaser is one of those deals where, you know, please subscribe to get the rest of it. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Vince was focused on the XFL again. Then he focused on the XFL. And look at how business was when he first incepted XFL. Because he's trying to wear too many hats, thinking that he's delegated enough people to put in the right places. And really what ends up happening is they don't have the love or obsession, and it's an obsession for it, to be a success at WWE, WWF when he can't be there all the time like normal, you know. Now, I'm going to go ahead and compare that obsession. I love that word, by the way, now that I'm thinking about it. Because you guys with that kind of obsession, it transfers into talent, i.e. Eddie fucking Guerrero. He had that same obsession, but he was a performer, not a businessman. See what I'm saying? That's what it takes to be great. So, he tries to restart the XFL and puts even more time and energy into it. And, you know, everybody thinks that maybe it's going to happen, maybe it ain't going to happen. Chances are it's going to happen, but Vince is, what, mid-70s now, 76? Yeah. So they all think that the kids are going to get the company along with Levesque, you know. That may or may not happen, you know, because I was thinking about it, and the way Vince was brought into us, and this is the difference between a Vince McMahon and a Tony Khan and an Eric Bischoff and even a Ted Turner. Or a Dixie Carter. You have to fucking know what it's like to go without. To have that gift of focus and obsession that Vince does. When Vince actually met his father for the first time, he was living in a fucking trailer, in a trailer park. He knows what it's like to go without. And that was the initial fuel that that helped elevate him to become what he is today. And that is whatever the fuck he is, CEO, CFO, whatever the fuck of a company that did for the first time in its history during fucking pandemic, or during COVID, the second part of COVID or part of the pandemic, $1 billion in business at 76 years old, with the rumors out there he's slipping and this and that and the other thing. Do you have any idea? And I used to watch and go, what are they doing? You know, when I first started to get guys tryouts, they would say, no bad indie habits. Okay? That was one of the rules to get them down there. And all of a sudden, here's Levesque and Stephanie hiring all the internet darlings. There's no way one internet darling, and I'm going to go ahead and take guys like Samoa Joe out of there and AJ Styles, justified their existence at World Wrestling Entertainment. They haven't. You know, some guys have stepped up now, but the bottom line is they got in bed with Evolve. Nobody in their right mind with a business brain would ever trust Gabe Sapolsky and buy Evolve and figure that Sapolsky was their their liaison between the high flyers and the cruiserweights and the 205ers, and hire him and do anything with him if he's an employee of WWE or subcontracting WWE. It's just not good business. So let's go more into it in the podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, subscribe on Patreon. Patronize us on Patreon to get the rest of this, and also all of our big monthly tapings. And the big monthly taping that just went up today, February 8th, 2022, was Warpath. You got to see the matches, especially Pancho versus Sensei and that tag match, and the big triple threat for the Challenge Pro Championship.